Hi, I'm Rupert Guinness. I'm the former European correspondent for Velo News, but I've been tagging along with these guys, this crew, for quite a while now. We're at Limoges, the start of stage 10. Very special moment is going to be the presentation to John Wilcockson for his 40th tour. Can you believe that? 40 tours. John, this is a very special moment for you. Tell us how you're feeling right now.
Well, I'm just thinking of all the tours I did, and the first time I saw the tour was in 1963, and I was on a bike, and Seamus Elliott, the famous Irishman, was in the yellow jersey. He just won the stage into Roubaix, and I saw Jacques Anquetil win the time trial, and then I was on the Col de Tourmalet like we were the other day, and saw Anquetil and Bahamontes thing, and we also went into Chamonix, where Anquetil beat Bahamontes and won the Tour de France.
Congratulations to John Wilcockson, his 40th Tour de France. It's always been a pleasure to be interviewed by the best, and we wish you another 40 years.
John, what was special about the tour, though, that sort of made you want to come back every year for 40 years?
Well, it's just magic. You know, every year is different, every day is different. Just like this, there's so many memories, but you know, every day those memories are being created. And this year's tour is a great tour because there's so much uncertainty and so much conjecture. You know, what's going to happen with Lance, what's going to happen with Alberto, and is Wiggins going to come through? There's four Anglo-Americans in the top 10. It's amazing. You know, when I first came to the tour, you know, Seamus Elliott was a fluke. He didn't win the tour. He just had the yellow jersey for a day.
It's hard to imagine doing a tour without John. He's like you said, he's been around forever. He's a great journalist, also a good guy. I consider him a friend, and you know, I think that's a great honor that he got that award.
Was there one standout moment from the tour, besides sharing a room with me, that touches a part in your heart?
Well, it's obviously there was Greg LeMond's victory in Paris in '89 over Laurent Fignon. That was incredible. I was standing on the Champs-Élysées, actually standing with Andy Hampsten, had already finished his time trial, and you know, we both started jumping up and down. It was so exciting, nobody could believe it. But also Limoges was an emotional moment when Lance won the stage into Limoges in '95 in memory of Fabio Casatelli, and that was pretty special. Lance still says that's the most outstanding win of his career.
I've been reading his stuff since, you know, I was 6 or 12 years old. You know, we always got Velo News at my house when I was a kid, and yeah, then meeting John finally, I think it was like 18 years old or something like that, and him writing about me a little bit. And yeah, it's been neat. You know, someone we've always had throughout our whole career, whether it's been George, myself, Frankie, anybody, through even Greg LeMond, you know, and farther back than Jacques Boyer. And so it's 42. Holy cow, that's amazing.
Covering the tour is a pretty hard event. The race has changed a great deal. Do you find the event harder now to cover, or easier, or how is it different?
Well, it's just different. You know, technology. You know, when I first came to the tour as a journalist in 1968, you know, we had to type our stories and phone them through to the newspapers, dictate them. It was very different. You know, there were some days, I remember when Robert Miller won a stage up in the Pyrenees, and the press room was like 20 miles away, and we had to see Miller finish, interview him, dash the thing, and I wrote my copy on the telephone. I didn't write it, I just dictated it off the top of my head. We were joking around the other day, you know, for 10, 20 years you get a medal, for 30 years you get a silver tray, for 40 years, I don't know what it's going to be, but I think for 50 years, the man with the hammer comes and knocks you on the head.
40 tours is pretty incredible. That's a long time to spend at the tour, but yeah, definitely from all my racing days, I can remember John being after the finish and trying to stop and get quotes and interviews, and I remember at a time it's like you wanted to be stopped by John Wilcockson. That was like something of prestige, you know. Hey, I talked to John Wilcockson of Velo News today, so and it's still that way. You know, he's still running around, and I think a lot of people, when he walks over to him, they know that he's a rider that's been with Velo News for a long time and definitely knows the sport. And people, they'll stop quickly to be able to talk with John. So it's congratulations, John, for 40 years. Pretty incredible.
Describe a little bit about the esprit de corps of covering an event and with the group that you're with.
Well, it's great. You know, when I first covered the tour, there were so few journalists altogether, so you knew pretty much everyone. And I used to travel with different journalists every day, which was fun. But now we have a group, and you know, we've been doing it for 10, 15 years. It's just one car, and it's just been fun. You talk about the race in the evening, like last night we had a few bottles of Gigondas, very nice wine, and had reminiscences and talked about what's happening, the intrigue of this year's tour. It's just you know, it just makes the tour so much more enjoyable.
Well, I think we've heard it from John Wilcockson there. He's going to be presented very shortly. But I'd just like to say that it's been a great pleasure travelling with John, and I know that all the guys at Velo News have really enjoyed every moment. And congratulations, John. It's a really well-deserved moment.
L'expérience cette nouvelle qui est très formidable. C'est le meilleur mois de ma vie, c'est être sur le Tour de France.
Merci beaucoup. Il a couvert 40 Tours de France et il a commencé d'ailleurs à suivre le Tour de France avant même de le faire comme journaliste, dans les années 60, je crois en 1963, en faisant le parcours du Tour, en dormant, c'est exceptionnel, chez l'habitant, dans des granges et en faisant le Tour. Et en 68, pour la première fois, tu l'as fait comme journaliste professionnel et tu n'as pas arrêté. C'est-à-dire depuis 40 ans que je suis Tour de France avec passion. John est ingénieur de formation. Et ensuite mal tourné dans le journaliste, ça peut arriver, parfois on réussit à s'en sortir, mais c'est pas le cas de tout le monde. Et donc tu fais vraiment partie de la grande famille du Tour de France, tu as écrit aussi de nombreux ouvrages sur le Tour, et pour Velo News, eh bien, tu transmets ta passion au quotidien à un tas de lecteurs. Tu as été l'un des premiers journalistes anglophones sur le Tour dans les années 60, ils n'étaient pas si nombreux. 68, le premier Tour que tu as couvert comme journaliste, c'est Martin Vittel que tu vas retrouver avec nous tous dans quelques jours. Donc voilà, au nom du Tour de France, je vais te remettre le drapeau de la reconnaissance du Tour de France pour tes 40 Tours de France couverts.
40 Tours de France, ça s'applaudit très très fort. Bravo.
Et alors, parce que précisément, John, il y a eu 40 ans, il y a 40 ans, et que c'est bien plus que le plateau, Bernard Hinault va promettre un maillot jaune spécial.
Un maillot jaune spécial avec un beau numéro 40.
Maillot jaune pour 40 Tours de France jeunesse.
Oh, magnifique. Magnifique.
Merci Christian, merci Bernard, merci Bernard. Oui, le premier jour que j'ai vu le Tour de France, c'est 63, c'est l'étape de Rupert à Hinault. Et le jour de le maillot jaune, c'est un Irlandais, chez Muselier. Cette année-là, on tire la Papamontes, j'ai vu les deux sur le Tourmalet et à Chamonix. 68, c'est l'année de Jan Janssen, c'est la dernière année des équipes nationales. L'année avant ça, j'ai vu Tom Simpson qui a fait sa vie sur le Mont Ventoux. L'année de moi, Colin Lewis est dans la même équipe, je suis proche de les Anglais. Mais pour moi, l'Angleterre, c'est mon premier pays. Mon deuxième pays, c'est l'Amérique, j'habite là depuis 22 ans. Et le troisième pays, bien sûr, c'est la France. La famille du Tour de France, c'est une expérience annuelle qui est très formidable. C'est le meilleur mois de ma vie, c'est être sur le Tour de France.
Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup. Une belle photo avec le maillot, une belle photo. Bien sûr, on va de Bernard avec le plateau, le maillot, il y a un trou. « 40 Tours de France, c'est une connaissance du vélo biblique. J'ai enfin trouvé quelqu'un qui pouvait parler de course avant la mienne. Et c'est pas gagné. Et c'est pas gagné. Bravo en tout cas. Merci beaucoup à vous tous. Merci. Ainsi s'achève cette cérémonie protocolaire et ces honneurs.